All right, today we're going to look at combining like terms. So when I say terms, I'm talking about numbers, variables, and exponents that are separated by addition and subtraction, or combinations of numbers, variables, and exponents. So 3 plus 2x plus y minus x squared y has 4 terms. 3 is a term, 2x is a term, y is a term, and x squared y is a term. And we would say this is negative x squared y because there's a negative sign in front of it or a minus sign in front of it. You'll always attach the sign that's in front of a term to that term. So if it's a plus sign or no sign, it's positive, and if it's a minus sign, it's negative. Like terms are terms with the same combination of variables and exponents. So in our first group here, we do not have any like terms. And for like terms, the coefficients or the number that we're multiplying by can be different as long as we have the same variables and exponents. So a coefficient example of one might be the 2 in front of the 2 or in the 2x. So let's look at some like terms. One set of like terms we could have is xy plus 2xy minus 5xy. All of these are like terms. They have the same exponents. None of them have, or they have the same variables, and none of them have exponents. So they do have the same exponents. Um, and their coefficients are different, but that's okay. We could also have 1 plus 2 plus 4. These are just plain old numbers. They don't have any exponents, they don't have any variables. So these are also like terms. We could have 5x squared plus negative 1x squared minus 15x squared. Sometimes you'll see this where they go ahead and put a plus sign even though the term is negative, or sometimes they'll just write it out as negative. These are all three like terms because they all have the same x squared variable and exponent combination. And then let's look at some terms that are not like terms, so unlike terms. I've got 2x minus y plus 1. None of these three terms share a variable or exponent, um, or the combination of variables and exponents. So 2x has an x, y is a y, and the 1 doesn't have a variable at all. So unlike or not like terms. We could also have 4y plus xy plus x Again, these are not like terms. Yes, the 4 has a y with it and the x has a y with it, but that's not the same combination of variables. Y and xy are not the same, and x and xy are not the same. And we cannot combine this 4y to this x to get an xy. And part of the reason for this is because when we're talking about variables in math, our variables are numbers that are unknown. And most of the time, when we don't know a number, if we've got different variables, that means they're supposed to be different numbers. So this y could be a 2, and this x could be a 3. And I couldn't combine 4 times 2 plus the 3 to get 5 times something because I don't know, I don't know what these two variables are, but even if I did, that 2 is a different than that 3 if they were 2 and 3. Or I can think of it this way. This is, I have 4 yellow marbles, and then I have an X-shaped object. I wouldn't compare my yellow marbles to my X-shaped object. So I would have to keep those separate. And then this might be I have one yellow X. Again, I couldn't combine all three of these, so they're not like terms. Then my last group to show y'all is 5y squared plus 4, or sorry, plus y minus 3y cubed. Now all three of these do have a y, but my exponents are different. Here I have a 2, here I don't have an exponent, and here I have a 3. I can't combine my 2 to my 3 because I still don't know what y is. If I knew what y was, I could plug that number in here and eventually combine everything out. But since I don't know what it is, I can't combine anything unless it has the exact same set of variables and exponents. So these are not like terms. Now, when we do have like terms, we can combine what we have. So back to our earlier example of x squared or xy plus 2xy minus 5xy, I can combine these three terms. Anytime I have a variable without anything in front of it, that's the same thing as having one of that. So this xy is the same thing as 1xy. And I can combine that 1xy plus my 2xy. I'm going to add my coefficients, so 1 plus 2 to get 3xy. And then I'll bring down my minus 5xy. I'll always want to go from left to right on my adding and subtracting, just like I would in order of operations. Then I'm going to do 3xy minus 5xy. And 3 minus 5 leaves me with negative 2. And then I just bring down my xy with that. So to combine these, I get negative 2xy. And I can't figure out what x or y equals because I don't have an equal sign here and I don't have any other clues for figuring this out. So it's okay to have a math problem where you end with you just simplified, you combined your like terms, and you still have variables in your answer. Again, with our earlier examples, 1 plus 2 plus 4, we should be familiar with how to go about this, but same thing as before, you just go left to right. So you do 1 plus 2 to get 3, and then 3 plus 4 to get 7. And now looking at the one that had exponents in there, we've got 5x squared plus negative 1x squared minus 15x squared. We go left to right. 5x squared plus negative 1x squared. 5 plus negative 1 is 4, and then it's x squared minus 15x squared. 4 minus 15 leaves me with negative 11, and it's x squared. All right, I have a few more. So these were all the entire thing was like terms, but sometimes we might have other things mixed in, or some unlike terms mixed in. So for example, I could have 2w minus 3 plus 8 minus w squared minus 15, 15w. I'm still going to go left to right with my order of operations, and I'm going to combine my like terms. So first I have 2w, and I'm going to go from left to right looking for anything else that has just a w. So I've got 2w and negative 15w. So we do 2 minus 15 to get negative 13 and our w. And then I bring everything that I didn't underline just now down. So minus 3 plus 8 and minus w squared. Now I'm going to double check again. Is there anything else with just a w? And there's not. So I'll go to my next term. I've got negative 3. Is there anything else that's no variable? And I've got a negative 3 and a positive 8. So I'm going to go ahead and bring down my 13w. And then negative 3 plus 8 is positive 5. And then I bring down my negative w squared. And then rechecking my problem, there are no just w's, there are no plain variables, and there's nothing to go with the w squared. Now, usually when you've simplified an expression like this, you want to put biggest exponent variable combo first and then get smaller as you go. So you'll probably see on multiple choice this written as negative w squared minus 13w plus 5. And you just always want to attach the sign that's in front of the variable to that variable. So this was negative minus w, so it turns out to be negative w. This was negative 13, so it's minus 13. And then our plus 5 is just plus 5. I have one more. This one is x squared y minus xy squared minus x squared y plus 2x minus 2y. Our exponents can be in between our variables. So like this x squared y, this is still one term because there's no addition or subtraction in between that x and y. So we'll start with our first x squared y and look for like terms. Negative xy squared is not a like term because this squared is attached to the y, whereas this original x squared y, the square is attached to the x. But we do have negative x squared y. They have the same combination, so we'll combine those. This is the same thing as 1x squared y and negative 1x squared y. 1 minus negative, or 1 minus 1 leaves us with 0. So this is 0x squared y, and we don't write that out. 0 times anything is 0. So 0 times whatever x is times whatever y is still going to be 0. So we don't have to write anything there. These two actually cancel out. So since they've canceled out, I'm going to go ahead and bring down my negative x y squared. Those canceled out. And then I bring down my plus 2x and my minus 2y. Then I'll start with my xy squared and see if there's anything that can combine with it. And I'm not seeing anything because there's nothing that's x and y with the squared. Then I look at my 2x. Is there anything I can combine? No, there's no other x's. And I look at my negative 2y. Same thing. There's nothing that's just a y. So this is our fully simplified solution. All right. I'm planning on the next video going over uh, how to combine like terms and solve an equation when we've got like terms. So if y'all have any questions in between now and then, please feel free to reach out.